abstaining. Oh, meeting come to order. Al.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. We did post the agenda as we were supposed to last week. Whenever you want to call a roll.
Bazell, he's excused. Bosworth,
Here.
Callahan,
Here.
Shield,
Here.
Drysky, Duncan,
Here.
Elsner,
Here.
Frieden, Luders,
Here.
Levitt,
Here.
McLaughlin's excused. Miller, Sisson, Sherman,
Here.
Spicer,
Here.
Tavo,
Here.
and Tyler.
Here.
The roll's been called.
Thank you. The approval of the minutes for the last meeting are on here. There's no changes.
I have, may I, Mr. Chairman? I apparently, when you called on me last time to give a thumbnail, I mentioned I've been involved in some organizations. Well, I blurted out one that I was involved with, and I'm a past president, but that isn't the one I wanted, and is inconsistent with what we're talking about later. So, substituting the words American Society of Association Executives for, as printed, American Association of Medical Society Executives. That's true, but that isn't what I meant to.
You wanted to put it the other.
I want ASA,
Mark,
the
you
American
change the
Society.
alerts?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I screwed up on my.
I don't know. Can't have any bad alerts, so we're in trouble.
With that adjustment, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The minutes are approved. Gee, this is fun. Public comments. It's time for anybody who would like to talk to the commission about anything that's not on the agenda or whatever. Now's the time. Yeah, nobody wants to talk to us. There's no introductions. The first item. The first item of business, Mr. Chairman, is the election of officers, and we need to, our officers are primarily three. The chairman, the vice chairman, and the secretary. The chairman by ordinance has to be from Palm Springs, and the secretary has to be me, unfortunately.
Never seen you in a dress.
So with that, what we need to do is we need to open the nominations for chair, and so we would entertain motions at this time for chair.
I'd like to move that current past chairman, Chuck Shield, be renominated for chairman for this next year.
Are there other nominations?
No Palace coup. Great.
Are there other nominations? Seeing none, all those in favor of Mr. Shield being chairman?
Aye.
That's the same pay though, right?
Same page.
Well, we'll work out.
At this point, Mr. Chairman, we will, congratulations, and we'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Smoot. Thank you all. I appreciate it. As you know, it's this will be my last term before I'm termed out, last year, and that'll give me a total of, I'm going to term out next year, of 12 years on this board. And
You keep at it, you'll get it right.
yeah, I don't know what it is that I don't quite have right, but it's it's really part of my life, and it's great. I like dealing with the airport. I like being part of the airport. I love the airport commission, so it's fun and it's good. Let's move on to vice chairman. I'll entertain any nominations for vice chairman. Mr. Neville.
John.
John Duncan has been nominated, seconded. Any others? All those in favor, aye. Aye. And those who oppose? Gosh, congratulations. Great. We have to officially elect Mr. Smoot.
So moved.
All in favor?
Let's pretend that we did this right, but anyway. Before we move forward, I want to read a letter, unfortunately, from Mr. Tavell, which is a shock to me, and I'm sure the commission will be not too terribly pleased about. It's become necessary to resign from the Palm Springs International Airport Commission. My wife and I have just sold our home in Rancho Mirage and will be moving to the Palm Desert area within the next 60 days. Because of change of residence, I must tender this resignation. It's been an extreme pleasure for me to serve the city of Rancho Mirage and enjoy the opportunity to work with city council and staff. My sincere thanks to all of you who granted me this for the past 3 years. Continuing good luck, wishes to you and the city of Rancho Mirage for continued growth. Ed. So, Mr. Tavel is going to leave us.
Turn in your new badge, Ed.
Yeah. I think we just ought to make it pay.
Tom disagrees.
Which is actually not in the city of Palm Desert. You know that, I guess.
Dan knows it all.
Dan knows everything. I can't. Anyway, we're gonna miss you. We're gonna miss you, Mr. Ed. and-
I'm gonna miss the commission. I've enjoyed my 3 years here immensely. It's been, I've never been such a finer bunch of people.
And you have been very, very good for us, and we're gonna miss you. I guess we get to go to the Air Museum to see you.
That's right.
That's it.
Thank you.
Actually, Mr. Chair, we're gonna keep him as navigator.
Oh, good. Head navigator, kinda gonna be the whizzy navigator.
I don't know about him, but I'll be there.
That's great. Also, then we come back to the agenda. I just wanted to put that in now since that was the situation. TSA office space supplemental lease.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, this item is before you. We've been working with GSA to get the TSA lease in place for the offices that we're about to begin construction out under the Bono Concourse. What is attached to here is a supplemental lease to the existing lease that we have, which basically adds the 4,816 square feet of new office space and deletes the trailers, which will go away when the office is open. The rates shift around. Some of the rates on the existing space when the new lease begins drop off because of the money that we put into those spaces last year has now been paid back to us. The new rate on the new space will be $46.45 a square foot, which will run for 5 years at that level and will pay us back most all of the money that we put into the facility plus our normal rate on top of that. So this particular supplement is for a 5-year addition to the current lease. Then there will be a second supplement when the building is actually done, which is signed, which just says we've moved in and the rates start. And with that, we recommend your recommendation, council.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Moved, seconded. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor? say
Aye.
And those who are opposed. Passes. Significant project update. Al, I forgot one other thing that I just wanted to bring up. I wanted to bring up reappointment of Gary. We're very proud of you. Thank you for getting reappointed. You've been a good help for us here, so congratulations. And that's a very nice letter she wrote, actually, so. Are you sure you didn't write it and she signed it?
Well, I'm sure they wrote it before last night's meeting.
Oh, yeah, that's true. After last night, I don't think anything works.
Mr. Chairman, I
Yes.
don't think we have a letter, but it's reading the
We have a letter
local
in the packet.
newspaper that
Is there? I missed
Mr.
it.
Callahan's been.
I've got one in my package.
Oh, okay.
I got one of mine.
It was a handout.
I don't, so you're not appointed. Congratulations too, Dan. That's great. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Well, I've appreciated my 4 years so far on
It's,
the commission, and I think it's a moving body here.
yeah. I think it's really important that we all kind of put our little hearts into it and it works. Also, some point along here, since I see it right in front of me, we need to have you take a look at this. You can work on it today and turn it in today, or you can wait for up to about 10 days and get it to Margie. Once we, yes?
Mr. Chair, just for the new members on the
I'm sorry.
board, you maybe give an overview. of
Okay,
that.
this is last year's committees. If you want to stay on the same committee and you don't care, you can just circle your name or whatever, and we will appoint people to it. I think it's 7's the limit, Mr. Smith, when we had that little discussion last year. We will appoint people to the committee where there are openings. And if you want to stay on it, just circle it and say stay and fetch or whatever. Get it to me today is fine, or get it to Marjorie over the next few days. And about the middle of the month, we'll settle down and we'll take a look at it and see what we want to do and make the final appointments. Some of the committees are really, really busy and some aren't so busy, and then they get busy. So please do some work for the committees, okay? Sorry. Okay, now we go back to the agenda. I'm sure that I have just broken every rule in the world. But significant projects update.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I just wanted to spend a couple of minutes to bring you up to date on several things that are going on. Obviously, there's lots of things going on in operating and running the airport on a day-to-day, but on top of that, your staff is doing a few other things to try to meet some deadlines that are out there ahead of us. So I'm just going to run through these kind of quickly. The master plan, we had anticipated it would have been adopted at the last council meeting. However, because of some illness, there was not a quorum present large enough to handle our master plan. And so it was continued until tonight. So keeping our fingers crossed that we'll be able to do it tonight. With any kind of luck, that will happen. We'll then do the final printing, pack it up, and send it off to the FAA, and hopefully within 2 or 3 months, they will acknowledge it as an approved master plan. And we will have completed what we began 3 years ago.
Is there any reason to believe that?
No. The reconfiguration of the roadway is well underway out there. We will finish it before Thanksgiving, hopefully well before Thanksgiving. By the time you have your next meeting, things will be popping out of the ground. We're just now to that point, and it is, despite it looks like a war zone out there. You can't see heck of a lot. There is a lot going on, and it's doing very well. The main tie downs for the fabric roof structure, the 6 large footings that go in are there. The 2 major tie downs are yet to come. So it's moving along rather well. And hopefully what we will do is possibly at your next meeting we can take a tour out there if we've got enough stuff in place. If not, definitely the following meeting.
Okay.
Could you elucidate on this statement, it's the first of its kind?
Pardon me?
Could you elucidate on this statement, it's the first of its kind?
You can tell him he's been slow. I'm sorry. He'd like to know why it says first of its kind.
Oh, the inspection, the centralized inspection checkpoints, the first of its kind in the country.
And that's because it has all these equipment in it, all in a single
Yes.
spot.
When we get done, we'll be the only airport in the country where we can not only inspect them, but we can stop them from getting in if we want to. Someday we'll show you
How much fun that is.
Pick one of the commissioners.
Yeah, I think we're going to try our car to go fast.
We'll use that car.
Okay, he's not going to be here. So, yes,
Is
yes.
there any reason for the term notoriety?
It's kind of negative.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
I wasn't thinking. Unfortunately, this was typed by me. That's probably the problem. If I had a secretary, if Marjorie had done this for me, it'd have been done right.
True.
TSA offices, that's moving along. We anticipate starting next week. And it should take 60 days, 70 days or so like that to get it completed. And we'll hopefully have them out of the trailers in the offices. The EDS relocation, that's moving the EDS explosive protection equipment out of the lobby and into the areas behind the ticket counters. We will have bids in a week on the canopy and shortly thereafter on the enclosure area. We're coordinating the arrival of the equipment in late August right now, so we've got a lot of work to do in a big hurry. But everything's going along. We've got all the airlines finally signed off on it last week, and so we're rolling. We'll get that in place.
And that's going to be behind in a central sort of box somewhere that all these machines, 3 machines live.
No, they will be spread out in the existing outbound baggage handling area behind the ticket counters. It'll be in 3 different locations along the run of that. Eventually, several years from now, hopefully it'll all be in a centralized spot. When we get rich again and have lots of money, can buy lots of bag belts. The terminal hardening project, the lobby expansion, that's the one we had gotten ready to start on. You've looked at, the council has bought off on as far as it's a good idea to do. We have proposals from our consultant team and we're ready to roll. And 2 weeks ago, the federal government pulled the $2 million out from underneath us that was going to be used to start it. We're still trying to figure out why they did. The only excuse that they told us is that they needed the money so that the explosive detection systems expansions for other airports could be completed. And we said, well, isn't that neat? We're spending $1 million of our own money to do our EDS, and you're taking our grant money away to give to someone else to do their EDS. So anyway, they said, you're right. So we haven't given up on it. We'll continue to pursue, and hopefully we will find some additional cash here very shortly to where we can get the design started.
My question was, because we always sort of seen it towards the end of the fiscal year, get a little bit here, a little bit there. My question was, are we gonna try and do that?
Oh, yeah, we've still got our hand out, and hopefully it will happen, but I'm thinking.
No promises.
Yeah, this year is gonna be pretty slim chance, because most of the money's going elsewhere.
Does that interfere with other, does that fit on some critical path of other developments and improvements, or is that kind of a standalone issue?
Well, it stands alone, but I mean, it needs to get completed. It's one of the things that our explosives plan said we needed to, our blast analysis said we needed to do. And the other thing is that we will have to go through at least 2 more years now of extremely crowded lobby. And it's very crowded. We're in the process of putting the 3rd lane in down there right now. And for the checkpoint, that's just gonna put more stuff down there. So it's something we need to work on. We're gonna push it hard. And with any kind of luck, once we get all the bids on these EDS things that we're doing right now, if we have, we budgeted $1.5 million for that. Hopefully we're gonna come in at around $1 million. If we do, we can start the design work with that other $500,000 out there. So that's what we're hoping, but we won't know that for 2-3 weeks yet. So maybe when we get back to you next month, things will be better.
Yeah, well,
Hold rooms, 1 and 2, those are the plans for the temporary hold rooms to be replaced. Right now, we don't have any money. We hope from the bond financing, we may be able to pull some additional dollars out that might be able to help us do that. And that bond refinancing, you'll be hearing a lot more on your next commission meeting, because we'll be moving forward hopefully in September or October with that refinancing.
The hold rooms again are what?
The 2 temporary hold rooms that are down there now are trailers, these gates 1, 2, and 3.
Holding, what's the, I'm not.
Passenger holding areas
Okay.
before they board, boarding lounges.
yes, for the smaller.
One of the previous meetings, I asked whether we could sell bonds to raise some money. He said, no, we can't sell bonds. What is this bond refinancing?
We've had on the commission's work program for about 1.5 years to refinance our 1992 bonds. And as part of that process, we have been looking at, can we pull some additional dollars out of there? We couldn't go out and do a standalone bond issue without going back to the airlines and going through a huge process. But as far as refinancing, we can do that. And as part of that refinancing, it's looking like there is a methodology where we may be able to pull as much as $4 million out of the bond issue when we refinance them. But, so we're working through that.
Is that lower interest rates involved?
That's lower interest rates, longer terms, different types of bonds, more PFCs. It's a whole combination of stuff that we really don't have packaged yet to give you all the details on, but we will have at the next meeting.
Okay, and that's also going to include, you say, the sale of some assets. What does that mean?
Well, as we had talked about before, the airport owns some property down by the wastewater treatment plant. There is a possibility that we can sell that to the wastewater fund. That's not on the table right now, but it's a possibility that can happen. So that's one of the issues that might be.
Yes, Dan.
On the hold rooms, Mr. Smoot, how critical are those? I know they're temporary and they seem to be once in a while a little used to capacity, but how critical are they that we move ahead on those right away?
It's pretty critical that they need to be high on the priority list. I wouldn't put them ahead of doing the lobby work unless we are unable to pull enough money together that you may want to do it. I mean, those things are now going on 9 years old. They were really designed to be here about 5 years. And they are trailers. And so we have had problems with the floors and we have problems in the restrooms with them. So they're starting to get tired. And so it will become a problem within the next couple of years probably, I would guess. Then the other critical issue is the airline use agreement. We're now in the last 12 months of the current airline use agreement, which was a 10-year agreement. And we're beginning the process of working with them to get a new 10-year agreement. Things are a lot different in the airline industry right now than they were before, so we're just struggling to get them to come to the table and talk to us, but we will continue to work through that process.
What would happen if it's expired? In other words, they never really came back to the table.
We would
Time
set
and manner.
we would set an ordinance for our rates and charges, and our rules and regulations and everything that's in the agreement would be done by ordinance.
Okay.
I mean, airports have it that way. I wouldn't recommend we do that unless we had to.
Yeah.
These are individual agreements with each airline that comes in.
Yes, but they're all exactly
That
the
same
same.
anniversary date?
Yeah, they all expired June 30, 2003. In any event, Mr. Chairman, the real reason that I put this on here was to kind of tell you that these are important projects that are dear to my heart, and that I want to try to get as many of them completed as possible. Yesterday I gave a letter to the city manager, and I want to read it to you. It basically, doesn't basically say, it does say. It says, "Dear David, for almost 30 years it's been my honor to serve the citizens of Palm Springs in a variety of roles that have stretched from the building department to the airport. It's been one heck of a run. It's always been my goal to leave things better than I found them, and I hope in some small way I've accomplished that in my many years. It's now my desire to move on to new adventures that will allow travel with my wife and time with my family. So please accept this letter as my notice of intention to retire from the city as of December 31st, 2003. I hope this early notice will help the city in its endeavor to find a new airport director, which I know will not be difficult, as there is much interest in the industry, as well as here at the airport, in an airport the caliber of Palm Springs. It would be my honor to assist in the recruitment in any transition period." So, I'm going to retire.
We're not going to approve it, wait a minute.
You're not going to get asked.
Not within our authority.
Yes. So, I'll be retiring in December.
Okay, retail merchandise, that sounds like a Richard. It's a Barry, okay.
Previously, Richard. Richard, as you may recall, brought this before the commission and the council for the approval of purchase of the 4 carts. The 4 carts arrived about a month ago. Actually, it's been about 3 weeks. We had a little damage to one of the carts. We're working on getting that repaired. In the meantime, we sent out letters of interest to all of our existing airport tenants, meaning Parity Shops, Anton Air Food, Airport Displays, and Eva's. Eva's here with Mark, her husband. Eva responded with a letter back to us indicating that she was interested in leasing 2 of the carts. And through our industry contacts and with a representative from Cabtech, who we ordered the cart from, we were able to decipher what the industry rate was going for carts such as this in terms of specialty type products. And before you is the rent that we negotiated and came to an agreement on. The agreement is attached to your report, and you can see that it's good for 1 year and 1 year renewal. We're still working on getting an RFP together for the other 2 carts. We're looking at specialty services. In particular, we're going to do an RFP for massage therapy services. Maybe a potential that particular operator may want to lease 2 carts as well. If they lease 2 carts, we're cutting them a small break. Instead of the $12,000 per year, it'll be $10,000 per year. But if you have any additional questions, we'd have to try to answer those, and we seek your approval.
Okay, I'll take a motion and then we can discuss it. Moved by Mike.
Second.
I know one of the concerns is that we don't intrude on the other businesses, with those that we invite to have. So we have sort of like a large store up there that's got a lot of stuff in it, and we have to try to be careful not to get in their face too much. So it's a little more delicate than just going out and saying, "Oh, why don't you come over and start selling at the airport?" Okay, Robert.
2 questions. One, what do we end up paying for these carts? I forgot.
The carts were roughly $19,000 each.
The lease you sell here is only for 1 cart. I've seen a comparable lease for cart number 1.
I'm sorry.
The lease you included in the back is only for 1 cart, I understand you said.
Yes, that's just a sample. It'll say space number 1 and space number 2 and when she actually signs the agreements.
And when they do that, they are actually getting the space location besides the car.
That's correct, as shown on the exhibit.
Thank you.
Good. We appreciate you guys. It's a good business you have down there, and people love it. So we appreciate you guys being there.
What is that business?
They have T-shirts and they have things to say, I went to Palm Springs and this is all I got from my grandparents. You know, the usual sort of tourist stuff. And they have,
It's more specialty in terms of the tie-dye brand that they have.
and you know, they have some unique products, there's no question about it. But people stop and look, I mean, you have a lot of traffic there, no question about it. So we appreciate you being there.
What do we think is the economic life of the park?
Hopefully longer than the other one.
The economic life is probably going to be 10, maybe 15 years, depending on how well they hold up outside. Two of the carts hopefully will be located in maybe a better environment in terms of maybe being upstairs on the concourse, and perhaps one of them will be inside the terminal.
They're all under the roof, aren't
Toy.
Yes, that's
they?
correct.
So what's the difference in the environment one place to another?
Well, there's more laminate on this cart than the previous carts.
Have anybody stopped, is it still downstairs?
Yes.
Yeah,
The
it's
new one?
back
You can
on
see
the
it
way out,
downstairs.
if you want to see the new cart.
I saw it walk right by it.
Just turn left instead of going out the door.
To be in there,
You see it sitting there. And it looks to me like it's got more capability. I think that's probably the big thing about it. And hopefully it'll be great for everybody. Okay? So, what do we need to do? We need to say all those in favor. Aye. And those who oppose. Mr. Smoot, do you want to do the updates before we do the ground study?
Yeah,
It's
good.
probably appropriate, that way we can, I want to talk about the ground study.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, next month we will have a more expanded version of the update that I'm going to give you here about signature flight support. We've been working very closely with Jeff Heck, the general manager, is here, and the corporate people with Signature, as well as ADG, something Richard initiated, and we're working closely with them as well in terms of expansion of their existing facility, some new hangars that they're proposing, and basically just a total revamping of the entire agreement is what we're looking at the moment. It's going to be very positive. It's a good win-win situation for the airport in terms of aeronautical development, and hope that we'll have it all together for you next month to show you.
Good.
The other item that you have on there is some of the correspondence that was sent to you or was given to you today is a letter from the acting or interim port director from Customs, basically telling us that as of September 30th, they're going to suspend our user fee facility permit unless we provide them with a permanent facility. So we're going to do magic and build them a new building in 90 days. We take great exception with the letter that we received. Quite frankly, it's not truthful. What is said in there is not what occurred. We have been working very diligently. We have offered numerous different alternatives as to a location for them. And each time we offer them something, the rule changes. And so we're between a rock and a hard spot. My letter back to them basically is saying we're going to continue to work with you. We're working with the concept right now to work them in some existing buildings here at the airport. When we last talked to them about 2 weeks ago, we wanted them to come out and look at that, and we guess their answer is they're not interested because they are suspending our permit. Basically, we are asking to continue to work with them, and my letter is also asking who's your boss and what's their address, because we're going to appeal this, and we're also going to be using our congresswoman to help us with that. It took us 4 years to get this permit. We operated that facility for 8 years without one single complaint about the facility. And the first day that this new interim director came out here, she said it was inadequate and needed to be replaced. So anyway, we're not happy, to say the least, and so we will be raising all kinds of heck in the next few months to try to prevent this from happening. And we have time to do it. We do not have time to build a new building. I mean, I don't know where this lady came from or what her knowledge of building is. if we had the money and the wherewithal and the decision today to do it, it would take us at least 14 months to get through the design and building process. You don't do these things overnight. So in any event, it's obvious we have a misunderstanding with them, and we'll be continuing to try to work that out.
My sense from discussions with Barry and rereading the letter and all this, that she doesn't want it out here. She doesn't want to be here, she doesn't want anything to do with this.
We have a sneaking suspicion that there may be it's not just here, there's been some other airports that have been suspended also. We think there may be a national decision that was made as follow-up to 9/11 that they don't want these facilities. And I guess my reaction to that is, if that's what you do, then tell us that. You know, let's don't play a game about it. Tell us that we're not interested, those facilities are too hard for us to maintain, they're not secure, whatever the problem is, tell us what it is. But don't play this game of we need a new building, knowing that there's no way on earth we can build a new building.
Plus, one of the offers, I guess, was using part of the signature, and I mean, it was like,
We've had all kinds of offers on the table with them, and, I mean, you know, the first request was, well, we need space in your terminal building. So we took them down, we showed them the TSA office space we're gonna build. We said, we'll add on to that, or we'll put you in one of the other spaces downstairs there. They went away and talked about that, and they came back and they said, well, we have to be able to pull the planes up to this new facility. And I said, well, we can't pull a corporate jet that is non-secure up to a secure area of the airport. I mean, you know, what world are you guys from? They said, well, then that won't work, will it? And, you know, each time we've done something, it's been, well, no, that won't work, we need this. And we still do not know to this day what they want. Keep saying, we want a new facility. Okay, well, is a new facility 4,000 square feet or is it 40,000 square feet? And so we're frustrated.
well, and you know, if it goes away, and we spend about $160,000 a year keeping the thing alive, it wouldn't be the worst thing that ever happened to us. I don't think we get that much use out of it. I know that the FBOs depend on it, but I don't think we can afford to operate it when we have to put up with trying to match this letter. I mean, I just don't see.
Well, I mean, obviously, we're not gonna go spend millions of dollars to build a new facility.
Yeah, we don't have the money, and it's not gonna happen. Unless somebody wants to write a check on the commission, I guess that's not good.
I raise my hand when they ask a question.
Not now. Wait till the next question.
All right, now we will do questions, not volunteerism.
Now, it seemed to me in the report when this visit was made, when the marketer was, that it wasn't quite as bleak as, we didn't really expect to be compound like this as a result of that.
No, it's been like I said, the first visit was sold to us as we have a new interim director, and she'd really like to come out and see the new facility. We hosted lunch out here and everything for her, brought her out here and got slapped in the face. Then we submitted things. I mean, it wasn't until halfway through this process that they finally sent the individual out that knows what a user fee facility is supposed to be, as the one that's writing the standards for it. Each time a different person came out to look at the place we offered. Quite frankly, they wouldn't listen to their own officer, in our presence anyway. I don't know what that's about, but that's their political problems. Even though they're all part of Homeland Security, they didn't want to be near TSA, even though they ought to be able to share offices. It's a strange one.
And it may just be that this has to go away. I hate that to happen, but you know, at some point, you're going to spend your life fighting for it, and nothing's going to happen. Yes, Bob.
What is the downside, the worst scenario, if they pack up and go away?
The downside.
How will that impact us and our passengers?
220 corporate jets that come here each year from places outside the United States would go somewhere else before they came here.
Ontario.
Now they go to San Diego or Las Vegas, clear, and then they come on over here. I mean, it would not be the end of the world. The other thing, though, that comes with this, though, is it's your step into the federal inspection facility, bigger commercial jets and those kinds of things, because we have the recognition of port of entry in our pocket. And so it's easy to activate a bigger FIS. I mean, that was the reason we went after it in the first place. We never went after it to make money. As Mr. Shield points out, we lose badly each year on it. And So that's the major concern. I mean, it's not like next week we're gonna open an FIS, it might be another 5-10 years before that ever happens. And it doesn't mean we couldn't go back and get this again.
Well, and
Could I just
also, you
sorry,
know,
John.
rules could change in that period too. I mean, as you
Absolutely.
see here, we're seeing new rules, you know, I mean, it's just like,
Well, we'd like to know that. We
yeah,
don't
I know, I don't think that she's gonna tell you, but maybe somebody else will.
Just follow, of these corporate entities that fly in here, is there any big corporate entity that might be very inconvenienced, that might have a voice with someone in Washington?
Not that I
I
know.
don't think so, Jeff, I don't know when it's really big time, a long time. It's mostly guys with their employee, and they wanna come in from, you know, Canada or Mexico. And they come in, you know, park their little expensive go in, go out and play golf for a while. I mean,
Well,
Does Gerald Ford fly in on a corporate?
Well, that's significant to our tourism industry.
Right, and I suspect the biggest name is Bill Gates, and that's.
I'd like to hear,
Yes,
if Jeff would
Russell.
comment on how big a piece of business that is for Signature.
Well, it's a fair piece of business for us,
And Millionaire.
and Millionaire as well. And having that airport designation obviously is an attractive thing for us to be able to go after potential customers.
Sure.
So, you know, it's probably, on the grand scheme of things, in season, it's probably, between the two companies, maybe in season, it's somewhere around the 15% area. So it's significant.
Well, you're not suggesting we back off this?
No, I'm suggesting we do exactly what he said, write a nasty letter to the boss and write to Mary Bono and see if she wants to get involved.
Al, I know you, through the network, you've got resources, whether this Customs Department has a policy, you know, they're not being upfront with you, that there's something going on. I mean,
So
seems
that's
like
what we're gonna find out through the Congresswoman.
a little intelligence could reveal that.
It's pretty obvious that something's changed.
But your long-term, as you said just a few minutes ago, the goal is to get us to a status to where there could be significant, this could be a port of entry for larger aircraft that would have a material impact on our commerce in this area.
Right, that's always been.
So I think we probably all agree that's very desirable. Should continue that effort.
John?
Yeah, well, another possible benefit, the former Western Regional Director of U.S. Customs and Immigration now lives here in Coachella Valley. Retired Navy captain in the reserves and used to be on my staff, so he may want to get involved, he may not, but it's an asset we might pursue.
And you might have a clue as to what's going on, or maybe find out. You never know. Good. All right,
Hey, Chuck,
Mike?
we'll lose our international designation, correct?
No.
Can
that's
that 3,000 still be able to come in?
Well, we still have the Vancouver, Alaska flights. We still have the pre-cleared agreements for Canada for commercial flights, so you know, we never lose. Even any airport can be an international airport. You just change your name.
But you have to have customs, that's
No, not at all.
what I thought.
You just have to have the guys that put it up on your sign.
In our case, we have been international long before this because of the pre-cleared pre-clearance agreement we have with Canada, between the United States and Canada.
And that works pretty well, I think. I don't think there's any
Yeah,
hang up over that.
at this point there isn't, but you know, everything changes.
All right, I'd kind of like to move on, if not Mr. Snook. We have a fairly long presentation. We have air service development on the list there.
Richard can give you a quick update if you want, or you can go into the brand thing. I mean, he's been out traveling and talking to folks. And
I'll give you the quick update, and maybe we can get things hooked up while I do that, and we can just kind of roll on through.
Good, great.
As Alan said, Brian and I have been out on the road. We did attend Jumpstart and meet with 10 different carriers while there, one of those being a carrier out of Canada. Meetings were very successful, developed some new contacts within the industry and got some new leads on some things, as well as some meetings and follow-up. We since then thereafter went to visit with Northwest and Continental about some additional routes there. and had some very good quality meetings at their headquarters to try and address those issues and perhaps bring a new route back into this valley. We've got 2 more upcoming on the agenda, one which came out of Jumpstart and the other which is a follow-up to some additional increased air service. So just keep moving things along and keep things drumming. As part of that, part of what keeps things going is, of course, the marketing effort that we put forward with the carriers so that they don't have to spend a dime trying to promote something when they've cut their marketing budgets entirely. This ad here that was run was paid for by us under the Air Service Incentive Program for Delta Connection's new service out of Salt Lake. The counterpart to this was we worked with Salt Lake City's airport as well, and they have a matching program, so we were able to get them on board and get them to run the same ad in their market at their cost to match the program, which was very well received. For Horizon Air stuff, the CBA, Mr. Gary Sherwin, who sits here to my right, ponied up their monies to help with the Horizon Air campaign and ran their ad, if you want to just pass that around. That is their ad that they've developed, and we just changed it around to put that Horizon Air flies nonstop from Seattle, and that was put up in the Seattle market. That flight is performing better than expected, so that was much appreciated. And our new partner, as has been mentioned before, the City of Indian Wells and their marketing department put up some money to do these cards, which went out to the top 40,000 people inside of Alaska's network that have visited our region before. And so therefore, they all got access to this, just indicating that Indian Wells is here, but that Horizon Air flies now nonstop from Seattle in the summer. So it was nice to see that we have the partnering still going on in Valley to help support everything that's moving forward. And if some of you are wondering, the shift with Barry taking over the RMUs and the signature stuff, with all of the continued growth in air service development, marketing and advertising and everything, Barry has so graciously taken on the properties items that I used to deal with and address and the general aviation issues as well as the concessions. So that's why the change, and I much appreciate Barry's hard work on trying to get his hands around all those things and move those things forward. So
I know you guys are really busy and you're really doing yeoman work based on all the security stuff and then what needs to be done on top of that. So all the staff should be really congratulated on really hard work, but very, very good. Okay. Commissioner?
I have one question. How much did Indian Wells put up to these files? Do you know how much Indian Wells put up?
$10,000.
$10,000. Thank you. And that went out to 40,000. Now it's went out to 40,000.
I believe the final count was 40,000. They worked the final figures. It might have been as low as 30,000 depending on the cost issue as it came up. But still, it was a huge effort on their part to be willing to do that and put that money forward.
Would that include the postage, the 10,000?
Yeah, it paid for everything. It paid for all of it. There was no money asked for from Horizon, as well as the CBA putting up their money to run their ad. There was no money asked for by the carrier.
Thanks, Dan.
I'm terribly disappointed they didn't put Larry's photo on the front here, but
You look great in that.
That's me right by the pool.
Oh, I thought another one.
Which one?
I like this picture of Helen.
This is right there.
You've never seen
Can't
me in
watch
the
television
face.
or listen to local radio without seeing an ad
Oh, that.
at Palm Springs Airport. It's great.
It's absolutely wonderful. We need every day to get people to be aware of what's going on here as far as the flying goes. And whether it takes a newscaster to say something or somebody in the paper to make a note about it, it really makes a difference. People do get the information. Ken?
I know there's, the market is not exactly the same, but there was a big article in the Orange County Register about a lot of the smaller airlines flying from the Midwest. They're fighting each other to get into Orange County. And I wonder if any of those airlines would have any kind of interest in coming to Palm Springs, even if it's just on a seasonal basis.
Well, I think you ought to look at, let's just take a look at JetBlue. It's an interesting airline. They have 57 more big airplanes coming in the next year and a half, is it? They gotta fly them somewhere. At some point, you just can't let them sit there on the tarmac and say, oh, we got 57, we got 152 airplanes, whatever the number is. And on top of it, last 2 weeks ago, they ordered 100 Embraers.
Plus they're making money.
And of course, but you know, there are reasons for that. They're new, they got new equipment, they got low wages, yada, yada, yada. But the fact is that they're a very dynamic force in the market. And at some point, somebody's going to fly that market. And, you know, it could logically be them, or it could logically, hopefully, be Continental or somebody. But I don't want to get too involved in this discussion because we have a long presentation here, so I want to kind of move it on. Are you ready, Richard?
Yeah, I'll just segue into the staff report that you read, and then we'll go from there. Okay. With us today is Gary Sherwin with the Convention and Visitors Authority, and Mr. Dwayne Knapp, who Gary will give a bigger introduction to as we get going. There is, as some of you are aware, a brand study that was done for the Valley. This is a whole Valley-wide effort to try and brand the Valley. It's a customer service issue, it's an image, it's a culture, it's everything rolled into one. And the CVA, largely Gary Sherwin, undertook this with Mr. Knapp to move this forward. It's been presented to the hospitality community under several different venues, which Gary will elaborate on. In part to that, as it says in the staff report, we've been working on a customer care program for here as part of our involvement with this. I've met with some of the entities that are listed there. We've attended several different things, both under AAAE and ACI, under the term of customer care service and customer care programs. And what we're looking to do first as we venture down this road is a survey to evaluate the customer service as perceived by our customers coming through here. We feel that that's a critical component piece that we haven't looked at in a while here. We'd like to take a really good look at it and see what feedback we get from our customers that come through this airport, and see if there's things that they don't like that we're not seeing, or areas that we can address. In working with the Parity Shops, with San Diego International Airport, with Spirit Airlines, and finding out how they did their programs are within our industry. While the brand study complements that, and our program hopefully complements the brand study as we move forward as one of the key component factors in that brand study moving forward, we're hopeful that a customer care program will help us acknowledge what we do well, what we don't do well, and just move things forward to where it becomes truly part of the culture of all of the airport tenants and staff. So it's not just an our staff issue, it's the staff of Americans People, the staff of Parity Shops. It's everybody understanding what the culture is for a customer care program. But right now, I'd like to introduce Mr. Gary Sherwin of the Convention Visitors Authority so that he can kind of open this up and get us there. The presentation is a bit lengthy, but I think you'll be enlightened by what you hear. Gary?
Thank you, Richard. And Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I am delighted to be with you today and share with you what I think is perhaps one of the most exciting and important projects that our Valley's tourism industry has undertaken. Before I do that, though, I want to thank Al and congratulate him on his retirement, and certainly on behalf of the hospitality community, we appreciate all your efforts making this airport a more attractive and functional facility. And we also thank you for your efforts on behalf of our convention center, which is the other half that you are too. The presentation that you're going to see today is actually an effort that has been going on since 2000. And it was a project that we undertook, developed it at great length, and then 9/11 happened. And after 9/11 happened, obviously, it's now an understatement to say it changed all of our lives. Certainly in the hospitality industry, it certainly did. It certainly did at this airport. And we instead decided to focus on some other things. But then we brought this process back to the table, and we think it's more timely now than ever to share this brand development program. And the reason we really wanted to talk with you today, and we've shared this presentation, by the way, with Chambers of Commerce, all the city councils, we've shared it in front of our hospitality industry community, and everyone has very warmly received it. But it has very important ramifications for this facility, this airport. Because what you're going to see today is that a brand is very often associated with a logo or a tagline or any of that type of stuff. That is not what this presentation is about. This is about creating a unique experience that you can only find in the Palm Springs Desert Resorts. And that unique experience begins the moment a plane starts descending at this airport. When people start looking out the airport window, or their little window in the airplane, start seeing the golf courses, all the swimming pools, the minute they land at this airport, taxi over and arrive at this terminal, this is their first point of contact. That vacation experience begins the moment of descent. And the first thing that they see is this facility. And I know that you all are cognizant of that, and that's one of the reasons why this airport looks the way that it does, and we're very appreciative of that. But there's some other things too that we can suggest that will help develop this unique brand experience. First, let me talk about why we did this whole exercise, because it's kind of important to discuss the process. And by the way, your marketing committee has kind of already seen this, and they recommended that we bring it to you, so they've already kind of had some input on this as well. First off, we had some challenges, certainly in some of our markets. First off is Phoenix, Scottsdale. There is absolutely no secret that our biggest challenge in terms of getting visitors here is the competition we find, particularly in the convention market, with Phoenix and Scottsdale. There's a lot of new, beautiful resorts that have been developed over there. There's a brand new Marriott, which is supposed to be a knockoff of our Desert Springs. If you've been there, I don't really think it is, but it's a big, huge Marriott resort. There's a new Westin resort. There's a new Sheraton resort. They continue to expand and improve. They have better access in terms of more flights going into their airport. Overall, it's easier to get to Sky Harbor Airport than very often it is to get to Palm Springs by virtue of the number of flights that they have. So all of those things, when you think about the cost of meeting in Phoenix and Scottsdale and meeting in Palm Springs, we're a little more of an expensive sell. So they are a definite competitor for us, and we needed to figure out how can we sell against that. So that was one of the other things we wanted to do. We wanted to differentiate ourselves in the marketplace. You know, if you're trying to sell a destination for either people coming to visit here on vacation or coming here for meetings, we need to say what differentiates us, what makes us special. Why would somebody want to come here versus another desert resort destination, or frankly even Las Vegas, which is another major competitor for us. So we need to really do some introspective work on ourselves as a destination. We also want to talk about the value versus pricing orientation. One of the things that we see today, and I think you would all agree, is we're living in a Walmart world. Walmart world. Price is king. You could go to Costco and find what you found at the store for maybe a third of the cost. Everyone likes to shop cheap. And certainly in the world of travel, when you look at some of the online portals and all, it's certainly evident there too. Everyone wants a deal. The issue that we're trying to face is that we don't necessarily want cheap business into this community. Our mission at the Convention Visitors Authority is to bring the best rated, highest quality business to this community and make people happy that they're spending a premium dollar to come here. We don't necessarily want to give this away. We don't want to be the low price leader in terms of vacations because we think our product merits an additional price to pay. But we want people to understand that and appreciate that. We also want to develop some consistent valley-wide messaging. You know, our organization represents 8 cities, and it also represents Riverside County here in the Coachella Valley. There's a lot of marketing going on. The airport does some marketing, the city of Palm Springs does marketing, Indian Wells does marketing. None of us have enough money to be able to sell the message that we need out into the world about this community with enough resources. We simply don't. If you look at what Las Vegas spends, Las Vegas has a budget in excess of $100 million to sell the Las Vegas experience. Over $100 million. Anaheim is spending over $16 million. Our organization's $5 million. You know, so what you need to, we're not complaining about budget here, but we're realizing that we get outgunned by our competitors. So what that makes us do is we've got to sell smart. We've got to be able to harness our resources and develop complementary messages so that everyone who's marketing this area, marketing this airport, is all selling in a consistent way that can leverage each other's messages. So let's talk about the process of what went on here. We didn't just go over to the Village Pub, pull up a beer and say, what should our brand be? This was a very thoughtful, deliberate effort that involved a lot of people in the hospitality community, involved elected leaders, and through a whole series of different processes where we talked to different communities, talked to the leaders, and said, what do you think the Palm Springs experience is? What makes us special? What differentiates us? Went through a whole series of interviews. We also went to community leaders as well. In addition to elected people and hospitality people, we went to people who work in the retail sector, and we talked with a lot of folks about their experience since they're on the front lines of dealing with our visitors as well. We also took a look at the way we are currently selling this community, looked at the way Palm Springs Tourism is doing it, the way Indian Wells is doing it. The Indio Marketing Group, they're starting to get involved in that. We looked at what the airport has been doing, and we really said, okay, here's how this community is being presented by all these different organizations. Is there a thread that ties all of this together? Probably the most important part of this whole process, and those of you who are in the business world know that if you really want to get an idea of what you stand for and how people think of you, is you talk to your customer. And that's exactly what we did. We went to LA, which generates about 55% of most of our visitors, and talked with people who currently visit us and people who don't visit us. And we did it in a professional testing facility with one of those wonderful one-way mirrors that you can see them, they can't see us, that type of thing. Had a professional moderator and asked them the really hard questions. Why do you like Palm Springs? Why don't you come to Palm Springs? What do you think of when you think of Palm Springs? If you don't go to Palm Springs, where else do you go? And why do you go there? So we asked them some really tough questions. And additionally, the research company that we worked with has done a lot of national research and actually some research for other companies here in the Valley. And they were able to give us some additional data as to the way meeting planners and the meeting community, association community sees us, as well as what people in other parts of the country think of us as well. So we were able to get some pretty broad-based data. And most of the findings from those focus groups are the results of what you're going to see today, which I think a lot of it seems kind of obvious and some of it may be enlightening to you. The other part of it, and perhaps the most important part of this, was the development of this plan. I've always said that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And we were very blessed to have a gentleman named Dwayne Knapp, who's with us today, kind of contact us and just said, listen, I'd love to help you. And Dwayne, when we looked at his background, it was nothing short of stunning. And I say this not because he's here, but it is truly, it is absolutely accurate. Dwayne has a lot of background in the hospitality community. He's a former vice president for Westin Hotels, Holiday Inns, Cinnabon. He's also done a lot of brand consulting work with the LA Convention Visitors Bureau and the American Society of Association Executives, an organization close to your heart, Mr. Elsner, I know that. He has worked with a lot of entities in the hospitality community to kind of work on developing brands. He also developed a friendship with a gentleman named Howard Schultz. And when Howard Schultz was developing the brand, Dwayne met with him, and the Starbucks brand is illustrated in his book, which is called The Brand Mindset. And that brand mindset is probably one of the best books I could ever recommend you. Even if you're not into marketing, even if you don't know about brands, it is a fascinating book on how products become really good, compelling brands. And you'll see a little bit of a synopsis of that today. Dwayne has spent countless hours with us in developing this brand program. And he spends a lot of time, I will tell you, outside the Valley, speaking on brand in front of major corporations and associations. But because he lives here in the Valley, he's taken a particular interest in how we can better present ourselves as a competitive, compelling destination brand. And this is not a CVA program. This is not just us organizationally. In fact, we play an important part of it, but this program that you see today has got to be implemented by the whole community. The airport, we're hopeful, will be one of the most important players of that. And Richard has been very helpful in sitting in on numerous brand presentations. We're also going to have a brand steering group that's going to help us implement that, and Richard has agreed at our request to kind of serve on this committee. So without further ado, I'm going to have Dwayne talk a little bit about the brand development aspect of it and kind of run you through the process and even maybe give you some ideas on how the airport can therefore help us extend the brand through some kind of creative ideas he's come up with as well. So with that, I'm going to introduce Dwayne Knapp, and by the way, at the new Barnes & Noble down in Palm Desert, you can pick up a copy of the book, which I will tell you, I'm not here to shill books for him, trust me, because he will tell you, he makes probably 2 cents on every book that's sold, he says, but it really is a great book, and that's it. So with that, I want to introduce my friend Dwayne Knapp.
Thank you. You are a good publicist. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
My pleasure to be with you all today and share the results of the strategy that we've done for our brand, which I'd like to talk about. And so, Char, thank you. As Gary mentioned, the research that we've done with customers and visitors and meeting planners, and the research that we have from the association of all the big travel associations like ASAE and like PCMA, which we have access to their research, we've been able to really look at our Palm Springs Resort and Convention Authority from really a national and international view. And these are some of our competitors. This is the real world. We compete on a daily basis. We compete all together as an airport, as a convention center, businesses, FBOs, etc. And these are some examples of what some other organizations, some other destinations, if you will, that have made a transition, have begun to think like a brand. One of the things that comes up in our discussion quite a bit in the Valley, and it's been very enthusiastically received, is the idea of, well, it is the Palm Springs Desert Resorts, and we have different cities' names like Indian Wells and others. And we've been able to achieve, I think, a dramatic acceptance of the idea that the equity that we have in Palm Springs is really good for the whole valley. And so that's been an issue that has been kind of talked about in the past, much similar to Napa Valley. As you know, there are 14 cities in the Napa Valley area, and it's not a problem to be known as Napa Valley, which there is in Napa City. You can see some of the things that other people have done. Gary mentioned the budgets. Let's take a look at the paradigm shift that we have been working on for the last 3 years for our desert resorts and our desert community. Basically, the whole idea of the strategy is to change from being a place to an experience, and Gary used that word. That is the crux of what we're working on night and day, and with the airport's support and help. These are a couple examples. Before Australia did a strategy for its brand, they were a faraway place. And it wasn't a bad place to visit, but nobody really wanted to go there. If you've ever flown to Australia, it's somewhere between 13 and 15-hour ride. It's not a pleasant experience to get on an airplane anywhere for 13 and 15 hours. Then they decided they would spend some money and they would do a movie. Anybody remember the movie that was done as part of the Australia strategy? Crocodile Dundee. Crocodile Dundee delivered in person an experience, something that was different, not just a faraway place, but the coolest place in the world to visit. Howard Schultz decided when he bought Starbucks, and they had 3 locations in the Pike Street Market. They were kind of dirty little old coffee shops, quite frankly. They made coffee, they were friendly. He didn't decide he was going to get into the coffee business. He decided he was going to create the third place. And that's the difference between a business and a brand. And that's what we're talking about here, a total experience. Now, what does that mean? The first place is home, the second place is office, and he said, I'm going to create a third place. Now, these words are very important. It's not about coffee. Yes, coffee is the business. It's about, I'm going to create a third place where people will go to indulge themselves, to relax, to refresh, to meet other people. Imagine that. Well, there was already McDonald's. That was a place where people could have met. The promise and the experience is completely different. That's why it's become so successful. So everything that we do and we talk about has to be about our experience. It has to be about the experience. It even begins, when Gary talked about people getting on the plane, it begins with their perception when they decide to come to our desert. That's where it begins, and that's what we have to do, is create an experience that perception is so strong for all the reasons that we know that we have that are unique, that we can deliver on that. Here's some of the experiences. Oh, it's okay, no, you've done fine. So what does a brand mean to you? So when I use the term brand, what's the word that comes to mind? Anybody want to volunteer? By the way, there are gifts for the right answers. Does anybody have an idea? What's the first word to come to mind when you think of brand?
Lexus.
Okay, very good.
And you don't get a Lexus.
It's not in the
Who said
bag.
Lexus? Who said Lexus?
Mr. Indian Wells.
Mr. Indian Wells, thank you, Don. Now, what do you think when you think of Lexus? What comes to mind? You think of
Class.
class, okay? So there's a feeling that goes with this, right? That's the experience we're talking about. It's not just about a car. Thank you very much. There's a gift from Colin.
He's just saying that because his Cadillac broke down yesterday.
We're glad to hear that. Lexus is a great brand. So, but it really is not about just recognizing the name. It's about your perception, isn't it? Okay, let's look at some other ideas here. So what we'd like to think, we want our Palm Springs Desert Resorts partnership, we want it to become a one-of-a-kind brand. We're not here to improve what we do. That's not what this is about. This is about going from a place to an experience, to a one-of-a-kind. So some of the keys to this is that every single internalized impression of a guest, a resident, employees, by the way, these influencers you talked about earlier, not my place to comment, but those 222 foreign jets that come in here, they are big influencers. And I'm glad to hear you're going to do everything possible to do that, because you might think about 4 or 5 people getting off the plane. They're going to deliver 5,000 people here in the next 12 months, one way or another. And just that one experience can make a big difference. So those are the influencers we talk about. You know, it isn't just about guests, it's about the meeting planners, it's about the people, the FBOs, it's about flight options, it's about NetJets, all of these kinds of people determine how and what happens in our valley, and we want to be perceived with the best functional and emotional benefits. Okay? So we've looked at it from Gary's, as Gary talked about, we went out and actually talked to people. One thing that you should think about as you go forward, and I know you've done a great job because that's why I'm here. I have to travel every week to somewhere in the world, and one of the reasons that I'm here is because the airport offers such great connections, and about 50% of the time, you know, I can actually start out now and I can go east. I don't have to go west to connect. I can take off. That takes 2 to 3 hours off of my day. It's extremely important. So I have a vested interest in this. I'm sorry to say, my objectivity is lost. I want it to be a one-of-a-kind experience too. So that's why this morning, before I came here, about a week ago, last week I flew out of the airport, and I went up to the little shop down there, in the Paradise shop, and there was a lady there, and she said, "Good morning," and when I get up in the morning, I'm not really that friendly, especially if I haven't had my first cup of coffee, and I was in a hurry because, you know, you have to catch early flights here to go. And she said, "Good morning," and I said, "Well, my goodness, you're very friendly." And she said, "Well, you know, I just love people. I just like making people happy." So this morning I delivered a dozen roses to her. Her name is Lois, and she reminds me of my mom. Let's look at the next slide. Wonderful person. You've got a lot of challenges and attributes because you have all these partners you have to work with. So we're going to flip through these fairly quickly. What are the challenges we face? Well, we sometimes think that we have bigger challenges amongst ourselves than people do who visit us. In other words, our city differences, well, one city wants to do this, one city wants to do that. The great news is that I can tell you enthusiastically, I'd like to say, that they have bought into this strategy. And that really is what makes a difference. And with the support of the airport, of course, that really makes the big difference on what we can deliver. The continued growth of the desert may jeopardize our brand. We have tremendous growth, and growth is good in some ways, but these are things that people tell us. These are what the real world, our guests and influencers tell us. We have to be careful. A stress-free atmosphere doesn't mean that you can't see any part of the natural desert. So there has to be a balance, because that's part of our brand promise. Limited service hotels. We've talked to limited service hotels, and it's great to have limited service hotels, meaning hotels that might just be a hotel, not necessarily have any resort experience. They need to have a promise. They need to have a pool that's really special. They need to have a kids program that's special. They need to add value to our experience. If we're ringed with just a variety of low-priced hotels, that does not necessarily help the experience. And by the way, the limited service hotels have really become excited about this too, because they want to do something, whether it be a Comfort Inn at the highway, they want to do something to be special too, because that all enhances everybody's experience. There's a recognition that we have customer delivery problems. Not everything is wonderful here in our community. Sometimes we do have challenges. The destination costs, as Gary referred to, are rather expensive here because of load factors and airline rates, and so sometimes that's a problem for us. That's why, as you're going to see in a few minutes, it's so important for us to have an exceptional experience. The Cabazon outlets are part of our experience. To deny that would be false. It's part of why people come here, and it's a wonderful part of it. And it doesn't necessarily take away from local retail. It really can enhance it if it's done right. You see Tiffany coming to town, you know? Tiffany's not worried about the Cabazon outlets, but they sell a lot of jewelry at the Cabazon outlets that's discounted jewelry that's similar, I might say, to what you might buy at Tiffany. Some cities will build their own sub-brands. We've been talking about that, but I think that's pretty well now taken care of. We've all agreed, as Richard talked about earlier, that we really need to work together. Gary said something very important. He talked about the budgets of Las Vegas. He talked about the budgets of Anaheim. Talked about your small budget. The reason I'm here today is because we can outshine all of those other brands. And here's one of the examples right here. Starbucks has never had a national advertising campaign. Neither has Tommy. They've never had a media campaign where they go on TV and spend $10 million, $100 million. It's not necessary. You know why? Because the experience and the promise is unique. Neither does Krispy Kreme Donuts, or Tiffany, by the way, or Cinnabon. So we don't have to have $100 million to spend, but we all have to agree that we want to deliver a certain kind of experience. Okay, so if that's our challenges, what quickly are the attributes? Well, we have a tremendous positive and emotional attachment to the destination. Now, I want to use a word called latent, because a lot of our brand equity is latent. Some people haven't been here in a long time, they have different views, they thought about it a few years ago, maybe it might be somewhat outdated, but there's tremendous equity to play upon. There's great positive awareness that this is a place to come for lots of things to do. Generally positive awareness of this celebrity connection and glamour. A great place to chill out and relax. Among visitors, being safe and family friendly, very important. Awareness of a wide accommodation of price points. And again, for limited service hotels with price points that might be more affordable, that's wonderful, but they need to do something to add to the experience. It needs to be special. And you see this when you go to Disneyland. You go to Disneyland or Disney World, you go to what might be classified as a budget hotel, the experience isn't the same, is it? It's different, it's exciting. They might have an enormous pool. They might have a kid's pool at a Comfort Inn. Those are the kinds of things that make a difference to people's experience. So, we have wonderful perception, of course, among Southern Californians, and since 9/11, unfortunately, it's a great opportunity for us to play to our strengths, which is regional people coming here and relaxing. Perceived to be a beautiful destination, part of our beauty. When people come here, they talk about the beauty. I was on the airplane with somebody the other day, and they were in the travel business, and I was telling them about Phoenix and, you know, the new Marriott over there, and what did they think of that? And they said, well, this is their quote. You know, Phoenix is not the Palm Springs Valley. I mean, it was very clear to this lady that it's not the same thing. It doesn't mean you might not go there sometime, but it's a very different. And that's what we want to play on. Dry and consistently sunny weather is an attraction, of course, and it's always dry. Clean, quality place, wide array of recreational opportunities, lots of good things, in other words. So, based on all of that, well, what have we come up with as our promise for the entire community and everybody to work together on? Well, let's have a look at what the promise is all about. The promise is about an authentic desert resort experience. We are authentic because we're not contrived. Remember, Las Vegas was contrived. A group of people who were unhappy with the congestion in the early 1920s in LA drove over to Las Vegas. They had some other things in mind as well, you'll remember. Fun. This is about having fun. It's about glamour. Our background, our Hollywood celebrity equity is very strong. After all, we have streets named after lots of celebrities. Relax. It's a place you come to relax because of the beauty we talked about, and to, of course, escape. So here's the brand promise. It incorporates all of these attributes, and it's what we're promising together. And when we met with the marketing committee of your board, they endorsed this as well. It's about providing the visitor the opportunity to enjoy, remember this word enjoy, fun, glamour, beauty of an authentic, relaxing California experience, escaping the pace of everyday life. Now this is a promise that no other destination can claim. Phoenix can't claim this. Las Vegas can't claim this. It's not about some advertising hype. It's about an experience that we deliver. It begins, as Gary said, when you get on the airplane, when you fly in, people see the golf courses, they see the wonderful structure, which you've been a leader in terms of setting some experiences up. When somebody sees that kind of a structure, when they see that beauty, that's an aesthetically endearing quality that says this is different. It's not Ontario. Ontario has a very nice airport, but it's not Ontario. So this is what we're promising to deliver as opposed to advertising hype. So what might you do, if you wouldn't mind my suggesting a few ideas? Now, none of these are the right ideas. I'll make a big disclaimer. They're just food for thought. First of all, the airport plays a critical role in the delivery of the brand promise. It's probably, it might be the most important delivery. Because for people who live here, they come and go. For people that travel, obviously they come and go. But it's really about setting up a particular expectation. So what I thought we would talk about for just about 3 or 4 or 5 more minutes, and then we'll open it up for questions and answers, is how could you think about the airport to deliver on your brand promise? Now, the fact is, and what Richard talked about and all of the customer service work you're doing, and I think he said it very well, it's not about us getting a promise for the airport employees. It's about every single person that comes to this facility, they have a promise to deliver. We don't care whether they work for Airline A or Airline B, or they're anybody who involves themselves. All of the people on the perimeter of the airport, from the museum and everyone else, really these are kind of the words that express our promise. And if we could pass out some of those things that we brought up the other day, is it possible to pass those out? Thank you. Imagine we're one of the greatest citrus growing areas in the world. Did you know that? Well, the president of Sunkist, of Coachella Valley Citrus, and who's the vice chairman of Sunkist, he was kind enough to provide us with some samples, so every one of you get a box. Imagine everyone that came to the airport or came to Palm Springs Valley, imagine them going home with a Sunkist orange. It's possible. Would that be something that enhances their relaxing experience? Would that be something that says this is a great place to come to? It's healthy, it's good for you? I don't know, but it's a thought. We have that kind of capability right here in our valley. Okay, let's take a look at greet. The initial passenger contact always is designed to communicate, we're glad you're here. So does every single person, from even the security people, and I don't mean TSA, but our people who greet and meet and who are out on, thank you so much, who are out on the tarmac and on the streets, when a person comes up to an airplane to hook up the air or turn on the power or make a communication, is their body language communicating, we're glad you're here, we're thrilled you're here? Does the person who greets you when you come in the line? These are the opportunities that we have to look at. But every single experience that you have within your boundary and control can deliver on this promise. Okay? It's always interesting to listen the way our passengers feel, like Lois did the other day. I mean, she could look at me and tell that, I wasn't going to be that friendly. As soon as she smiled and talked to me in the tone of voice that she talked, it immediately made me happy. I didn't even have to look for a cup of coffee. So I was able to have a great day because of her. So it's listening, it's learning, these are parts of the promise experience. It means that every single time somebody calls the airport or we work with the community or anything that we do, and all of the people here, that time is very valuable, especially when you're going on vacation, because you like to have as much time as possible. So you'd like the baggage to be as easy as it is. You'd like it to be as fast as it can come out. And there's all sorts of ways to improve that don't require capital expenditures. There's always something we can do to make our passengers feel special. There used to be an island off the, a series of islands, they're still there actually. There used to be a series of islands off the coast of the United States called Hawaii. They sat down one day like Australia and said, we're going to have a brand and we're going to deliver an experience. And part of that experience was a leg. And you probably can remember, maybe back in your times of life when you went to Hawaii and it was standard practice. It's kind of slipped a little bit now. Sometimes you see them, sometimes you don't. They used to be free, now they're $8.95, I think. And if you want one that has the fragrance, that's $12.95. But what are we going to do? What can we do? Imagine that Walt Disney was here today with you. Imagine he was on your board and he said, you know, let's not just be an airport, let's be the experience of a lifetime. Let's deliver something that's consistent with the promise of a lot relaxing and one of a kind. Okay? And of course, it's the fact that you chose to do business with us. We have a chance, because of the nature of our community and the nature of the people in the leadership of your board and the people who are connected with the airport, we have the chance to be not friendly. We have the opportunity to be the friendliest. When any kind of a transaction takes place at the airport, it's an opportunity to be friendly. So we have another friendly gift for you today. Now, these were all donated by local people just to make your meeting more fun. We have a candy company here, which is quite famous. Some of you might know, Palm Springs Candy Company. They sell the best caramel corn made in the world, and it's right here in our community. And so Jack Wright was kind enough to bring you each a box of caramel corn. There are no prizes in it, though, I don't think. You have to, and the idea here is what local products and services that you have, we want to make sure those are available at the airport, that they're here, that they extend our brand. Maybe when a private jet lands at an FBO, maybe they ought to get a jar of caramel corn. So the point is, it's all about our experience and what parts of our experience are one of a kind and unique. It doesn't mean that I'm suggesting we should give everybody caramel corn. It's just an idea. But we have a lot to be proud of and some things that really extend to our promise. Okay? What do we have left?
We just have overview, this is a kick review.
Okay, just a couple pictures, great. So these are what people look like. This is what people look like. You'd ask yourself, what can we do to make every experience that we have within the rules of the regulations and TSA and everything else. By the way, I had the pleasure of interviewing for my book I'm writing now for next year's release, which is called Your Brand is Only as Good as Your Promise. I had the pleasure of interviewing the director and assistant director of TSA. And if you travel like I do, and if you talk to the American public, you know that TSA has done a fantastic job. They're not perfect, but what they are compared to what we used to have is a night and day difference. And they are largely about 78% perceived to be positive by the American public versus about a 20% rating prior to TSA. And when I talked to them, they told me, I said, well, how have you been so successful? And they said, we started with a promise. The promise was we're going to treat people with respect, we're going to be happy. That doesn't mean they're perfect. And we're going to try to get them through security in 10 minutes. That's what their goal was. They started off at least with a promise. You remember the promise from other security before that, which was, let's be mean, let's take as long as possible. But the point is, were they bad people? Of course not, but they did not have a promise. And the first thing Gail Recides told me, who directed this whole effort, took it from 0 to 75,000 employees in 9 months, is we started off with a blank sheet of paper. We weren't going to be like any other federal agency. We were going to focus on the promise, and we're going to start with the customer, the guest. It's probably the best example in the federal government we have of a transformation. It isn't perfect, but it's really on its way to becoming worthy of a story. So, Gary, I don't know if you want to talk about culturalization, training, what's going to happen in the desert, and would you?
Very briefly, because I know we want to open it up to questions.
Sure.
What you've seen here, we think is gold, and we think that it has some very, very important ramifications to really enhance and grow the tourism industry here in the Valley. But the one thing that we don't want to have happen is to take all this and have it look good on paper and have everyone agree to it and nothing happen. So the next phase of all of this is to start getting the plan actually implemented. And perhaps the most important of that will be to develop some focused training programs. And we've developed a partnership with the College of the Desert. They've decided to really embrace this whole brand program. And what we're going to be doing over the summer is developing a three-pronged service training program. The first phase will be to develop a training program for frontline service employees. These are people who are dealing with our guests, whether they're front desk clerks or retail people or restaurant servers, so that they can participate and understand the meaning of the brand and the fact that if they're running around frantically or they're not smiling, they're not selling the brand. They're not reflective and living the brand. So that's important for them to realize that. The other important one will be develop a kind of a mid-level manager training program that will help, say, the director of housekeeping at major hotels, so that they can then help train their frontline people on this as well. And then the third part of it really came out of the hospitality community. And the hospitality community is completely changing the way they are now selling this community. And I can't say it's all because of the brand. I think a lot of it has to do with what's happening in Phoenix. We had a major hotel come to us and they said, you know what, we're getting our backside kicked big time out of Phoenix. We used to say, look at our hotel, look how beautiful it is. Look at all the rooms we've got. And you know what, that sell doesn't work anymore. What we've now got to sell, first and foremost, is selling the concept of the brand Palm Springs Desert Resorts. We now need to sell the brand experience. Once people buy into, oh, I like to relax, I like glamour, I like beauty. Well, what is there to do in terms of hospitality? What is the product? What are the bricks and mortar? And then the salespeople do that. But the salespeople are used to selling the hotel first and the destination second. It's flipped. In order for us to compete in the marketplace, the brand comes first. Because first and foremost, I'm sure Bob, being a part of the association community for so long, you understand this. People buy destinations because they reflect very often the tone, the feel of what kind of a meeting you want to have. The meeting that you're going to hold in New York City is going to be a very different feeling and tone than the meeting you want to hold in Palm Springs. Because it's that feeling, that experience, that brand that we need to be consistent in delivering. So that's going to be part of that. We're also going to try to get all of your cities together and their various marketing group and meet fairly regularly as part of a brand council. And that's to really kind of share information, make sure that we're not out there depicting the community in different ways. There's nothing more confusing for visitors to see an ad for Indian Wells that says we're over here, and Palm Springs that says we're over here, and Palm Springs Desert Resorts say this. We want everyone to embrace the overall brand and then develop consistent messages within the brand. You know, in the case of Indian Wells, which has been very supportive of this whole program, they said, we understand the brand. What we've got to do is find what is our brand within the brand. Maybe we are the most elegant and upscale Beverly Hills type community of the Palm Springs Desert Resorts, for example, something like that. That would be consistent with what we're doing with the brand. So we're going to be working with them as well. This is going to be a process that will take, let me tell you, years and years to make happen. Within our organization, we've named a brand steward. It's a gentleman named Jim LeBay, who's our art director, and he has become the brand czar. And when things go out into the community that don't look right, that look like they're cheaply mimeographed or something like that, this guy comes and beats people up. And that's really what those little things, those little details that we think are sometimes insignificant. The little details with the brand mean a whole heck of a lot. And that's really what we're trying to control within our own organization as well. We're building a new office building. Many of you have heard, we're down in Rancho Mirage. And the design of this building is going to be very much brand driven. The way it looks, the whole experience of coming into our organization, because we're sort of the face for the Coachella Valley tourism industry. So we have to live that brand. You're not going to find an institutional, cold, hard, impersonal building with our new office. It's going to be very much open and reflective of the Palm Springs experience. So those are some of the things that we're going to be doing, and it's, again, we hope that you'll all participate in that. And with that, we want to open it up to questions and comments.
You've interchanged the name Palm Springs and Coachella Valley. What is really going to be pushed? Is it going to be the Coachella Valley and all the cities within it? Or Palm Springs, assuming all the cities are part of Palm Springs?
From a marketing standpoint, what we call it is the Palm Springs Desert Resorts. Locally, we'll refer to it as Coachella Valley because you know that. But when we go out into the world, we refer to this collection of communities as the Palm Springs Desert Resorts. Now, I will tell you there has been discussion among the hospitality community about saying, well, why don't we just call it the Palm Springs Valley and be done with it? That's not a part of what this program is. It's not something we're advocating. But it is one of the things that people have talked about, but it is not what we're embracing here. What we're embracing here is much broader. But the term is Palm Springs Desert Resorts, the one that we use.
Yeah, that's pretty much what they had in San Francisco when I was running the San Mateo Hotel Restaurant Association and all of the other counties. We always refer to ourselves as the San Francisco Bay Area because that's how people identify.
Right. And the hard part is, it goes back to that first challenge, is that people perceive the differences locally more so than our visitors do. The thing that came out of the focus groups is it's all Palm Springs. And I know people in Palm Springs don't want to necessarily hear that, but that's how very often it's referred to. What we prefer to sell this as is kind of look at this place a little bit like the way Disneyland is. If you're going to go to Disneyland, you may spend most of your time in Fantasyland because that's where you like to go. Somebody else may like New Orleans Square, somebody else may like Tomorrowland. They're all different lands, but it's all Disneyland, the happiest place on earth. And the lands are unique and they're all special and they're all different, but it's all under the Disney banner. And that's a little bit of what we're trying to convey here.
As a consumer, I identify brands as having either a logo or a slogan or something like that. Is there going to be something associated with this?
Well, that is the next phase of what we're also trying to develop internally, and that is, to use, this is marketing gobbledygook, I know to say this, but it's called, brand architecture, which is developing a look and a tagline and all those things that kind of say the brand promise in like 3 words, and we're currently working on that. The hardest part is taking the experience and making it real. But yes, we are working on a new look and a new tagline internally, and that is a challenge as well. But that hopefully will be resolved in the next 2 to 3 months.
I noticed 2 elements of our current Coachella Valley experience, quote unquote, are totally absent from your presentation. I don't know if that's been 10 or what, but one is the casino influence, and the other is, like it or not, the alternative lifestyle that some of our cities are pushing to the limit. Those left out because you don't want to talk about it? Or?
No. It's these, at the time that we did these focus groups, which were probably a 1.5 years ago, and we still think the results are valid today, by the way. This area, by most visitor standards, is not seen as a gaming mecca. It is right now, and again, this is going to change pretty dramatically in the next couple of years, particularly, as what happens in Morongo, that huge hotel goes up, and now you've heard what's happening down in Cabazon. This is going to change, but at this point today, we're not seen as a major gaming destination. We're seen as what they call a convenience gaming destination, which means if you're here and you like to game, you can jump in and go to a casino or see a show or something like that. But if you talk to a lot of our hotels, we are, with the exception of the die-hard gamers, we're not seen as an alternative yet to Las Vegas. Now, when we develop full-on resort and people can stay and play and the casinos continue to expand, and certainly what's happening in downtown Palm Springs.
That's still not going to be the primary brand message, most likely. Even though the casinos are going to expand, that is not the primary.
Promise that whatever they come up with, we want to make sure that they are, whatever they come up with in terms of their own casino experience, it's reflective of our brand. And then the alternative, it did not come up in the research, in the focus groups. It did come up in the focus groups.
We're getting pretty short on time.
Yes.
do want to point out, thank you, Wayne, we all have now really nice name badges which were passed out this morning. And his point was to us, you're here, put them on, and when you're walking around, have something that says who you are. And stop and smile and talk to people. People, when they see this, I mean, where I have had this sample one for longer than most. Oh, you're with the airport. Well, what's this thing over here? Why is that happening? Oh, damn, I just couldn't believe this. It's identification. Doesn't mean you got to walk out and say, hey, this is me. But you have it on when you're walking around. And Helen and I come out a lot here. And it's just positiveness. I want people to think, oh, they care. They respond. So thanks to you, we now have this.
I've got a little gift for you, too.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks to Tommy Bahama. I'll put mine on if you put yours on. And for your vice chairman.
I love it.
Tommy has been kind enough to explain the promise, and so it's available at Tommy Bahama.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Have fun.
Chuck, we hand out an orange, too.
Yeah, well, and his point originally was, what would happen if everybody that was leaving or coming, but let's say leaving because they stand in those lines down there, somebody walked up to him and said, here, have this little bag of oranges on, it's sun-kissed oranges because they're here in the valley, and they want you to have this, or this, whatever it was. Because if you can't, you have to personalize this business of experience. You can't have some major slogan and then all stand around and look at it. It doesn't work. So that's why we have these, and his suggestion here was maybe we get sun-kissed for a while and give us little things that somebody can hand out down
Well,
there.
they're available in the stores. There might be something that's available because it's part of the
It's the idea of getting a gift, and something that's unique, and a thank you and so forth. And we have navigators in the winter to probably hand them out. Who knows? But that's what this is all about.
I would suggest the oranges rather than the lemons.
Well, that's probably true.
You see the price of lemons? That's gold they're passing out.
That's true.
All right, Larry.
Quick question. It was alluded that all of the communities within the Coachella Valley have bought into this brand concept, and I'm very encouraged to hear that. And various councils have seen this presentation or something like it.
Yes, officially, and Chamber of Commerce, and the cities, and they've been enthusiastic.
20 years ago, I was president of the Palm Desert Chamber of Commerce for 2 years, and we couldn't get the Palm Springs people to talk to us or to even consider some joint marketing program. And now we're thought of as one community with neighborhoods in it, and I think that's terrific.
Well, I have to give a plug. I think, largely because of people like Richard and people like Gary and the Convention and Visitors Authority, their delivery on the kinds of, whether it be aircraft here or the access through the new airlines and the delivery of people and really positioning ourselves as a one-of-a-kind place is the reason that the cities are now willing to say, this is really something we want to work together on, because they can see a clear benefit. So it's their work and their hard work that's really earned you that right. And it's nothing I've done, but I'm sure thrilled to have a chance to talk to you.
The only name I heard is Indian Wells, so it's a name.
We ask just one thing of you today, is that whatever information that you gain out of this, we would love for you to recommend as a body to kind of take the next step and work with Richard in developing whatever ideas you want to come up with, whether they're these ideas or others, so that your brand program, which we recommend that you develop, certainly is in alignment with what we're doing. And that I know Richard's already beginning that process, but we'd love to have him the power to do that and maybe even take it to another level. If you find it worthwhile today, we think that it's something that will benefit you in the long run.
That's exactly what my motion was going to say.
I second it.
All right, well, actually, somebody just moved that we move forward. And I heard a second down there somewhere. Any more discussion? I really want to move this on. We've got some more items to cover.
Restate the motion, please.
The motion was?
Implementation of the brand study.
Proceed and the brand move much along the lines of was presented today.
In other words, take the
Endorse
second
the-
step,
endorse
which,
the-
I believe what was
which is,
indicated in the staff report was that I wanted the airport commission's concurrence and support on the PSP customer care program and the brand study as a whole is what we're looking for.
yeah, what we need to do is get the airport, everybody on board at the airport to wherever we're focused and then have that happen. And that takes quite a little bit of doing.
Would that be appropriate to have another subcommittee to do that, or?
Well, we have a marketing subcommittee that has spent a lot of time on this issue, and I want to thank Helen and her committee. I think that that's a place to start, and we'll go from there. Any other questions? If not, I want to say thank you, gentlemen. It's a true pleasure to have you. It's good.
Motion on the table.
Oh, forgot about the motion on the table. Oh, my God. All those in favor of the motion on the table? Aye. Those who oppose, nay. Carries. All right.
Thank you for your
again,
patience.
gentlemen. Appreciate it. Now, Mr. Berry, added starters?
There are none, sir.
Okay. Submission requests and reports. Jerry?
I just got one quick report. I was appointed to the steering committee of the general plan update of Palm Springs. I attended a meeting on Monday. It could be approximately a 2-year process. At that meeting, I talked up the fact that the airport is the gateway to the city and the economic generator that it is, and that I also mentioned having reviewed Richard's handout about the brand recognition, and that hopefully we can have an impact. I can have an impact on the general plan and incorporating the airport in that.
That's why we put you on there. So I think we get the city of Palm Springs is adamant about making Palm Springs a tourist world, and they're willing to do damn near anything to make that happen. So that's really important. Okay, the only request I have is that you remember these either today or in the next 2 weeks. City council actions, you have the yellow sheet there, nothing surprising. 2 letters, one about Dan, which I don't have in my packet, just I have it on the agenda, and for Gary, so congratulations to both of you guys getting reappointed. Staff requests and reports. Okay, that means that we can now adjourn. See you. Yeah, we will see you guys